Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Andy Sanchez. Going to show you a quick Reason tutorial. I'm going to show you the basics, all right? So you can see that I have it open. I see some effects going on here. It's actually probably going to look a little bit more like this. You can go to File, New from Template, and I select Empty plus Effects. So if you scroll up, you could see your master section, and this is your hardware interface. So just to get you a little bit more familiar, this is where you're going to see your audio in and outputs. You can see I'm coming in a stereo. We're going to figure that out here in a second. I wouldn't mess with too much of this other stuff. It's right now for the basics, not even an issue. You have your master section here. You could, it's in bypass mode right now. Towards the end of your session, or whatever you want to do, you could turn it on and mess with that. You'll see this is common where it says show parameters and it has an arrow down. You could click that and see what's going on in here. It may still look a little foreign, but we can get into that a little later as well. But you have different presets on mastering right there, and these are your, it's once you start looking at it a little bit more in depth, you'll understand it better. So the next thing, we have some plate reverbs, a room reverb, a delay, a warm echo, and a digital line delay. So that's pretty awesome. You already have that set up. That's why we selected the template. Now, getting down to what this actually is, you can see the screws right here. So imagine like if you're looking at an actual rack. So it's like a rack of gear that someone purchased and take to a gig. So that might help you just understand the concept of Reason, the overall idea of Reason. You can right click anywhere to add something. I always add it to this side right here. I don't really use this side, but I think that's more for like different ways of routing. So this is in line with your section, so I'm sure you could route stuff from here to here, so it's not actually taking up space of what's directly going through your channel, because you could do a lot of side chaining, you could do a lot of linking things, gate, CVs, and stuff like that in Reason. So right here, if you right click, you can see create audio track, create instrument. You have your instrument list right here. So if I want like a quick to make some drums, I really like Kong. This is really awesome right here. We can, I think we could just delete it right here, or maybe we have to delete track and device. So if you want to just program simple drums, do the redrum, and you can literally select your kick drum, right? Hear it right here. And since you have kick drum selected, you can go ahead and type in what would be like just something simple, right? Every other three. So okay, so you can go and then add the snare. There it is. Now we're rocking with roll, and I'm gonna delete this one, and you can also see that you can add studio effects. Man, this gets pretty crazy in here. You even have guitar effects. So let's say somebody just wants to plug in directly to their interface, or somehow plug their guitar directly into the computer. You can use things like, let's see, where's that? Line 6 guitar amp and line 6 bass amp. And for that you'll need an audio track. So let's go ahead, and instead of right clicking and pressing create audio track, we could just do Command or Control T, I believe, on Windows. So here we go. We're good to go here. I think I could hear myself through my speakers there for a minute. I forgot to mute the speakers, but hopefully that's not an issue later on. But right here, now that we have, oh, I see what happened. Okay, here. So right here, this button is for you to monitor your audio. So if I click this, I can hear myself. If I don't, then I can't, right? I'm still in record mode, but I can't monitor myself. So if I press that red button, this is my audio track. This is basically the whole window where you'll be doing all your work. This is where your audio tracks lay out. But we're going to get to this section more in depth in just a second. But this is important just because I ran into that issue right now. I wanted to tell you. We have our audio track right here. So what we're going to do is delete this. I wonder if I could just press delete. Yes, I can. And so if you select your audio track, then right-click your audio track, go to Studio Effects, then Line 6 Guitar or Bass Amp. Now these are linked together. So now I'm actually going through this bass amp, or this guitar amp, and you can go through different presets by clicking the folder, right, and just getting to them, I guess, a little quicker. Or you can just scroll through. I wonder what I'm making y'all listen to right now. Let's hear it. Okay, no, I don't even have it. See if I press this, you can hear it. Okay, so let's delete. Actually, let's just go ahead and leave this. Next thing I'm just going to go ahead and show you is what all this stuff is right here. And I'm going to tell you about some shortcuts. So I don't really work in block mode, but if you end up pressing, I think, B, you will freak out trying to figure out how to get out of this screen. And if you have caps lock on, okay, that's not an issue. That's with Ableton, I think, or some other software, maybe Maschine. So yeah, if you end up in this screen for some reason, just click song or B. It should toggle between those two screens. Another toggle is tab, and I'll tell you that one later, a little bit more about that. But I'm going to tell you about these shortcuts right here as well. So we have Q, just go down the line, Q, W, E, R, T, Y, and U. The most common are going to be Q and R. Boom, because you're going to be using the cut tool all the time, and then this is how you grab stuff, and I guess the hand tool might come in handy every once in a while, but I never really use it. Okay, so moving on from that, you do have a way to snap to the grid, and I highly recommend 16th notes. Sometimes that could get frustrating. I don't know what you're working on, but that's typically what I leave it in. And snap to grid, so everything is moving in this grid, and we're staying in the same BPM and keeping that consistent. So moving on from this whole area, we're gonna manual record. I don't really mess with that. This looks like a bunch of random stuff. I don't mess with that either. I don't know what that is, but everything below that is what I use. So transport, that's this basically, so you don't have to mess with that either. But under transport is where all your instruments will go. So whenever I right click and do create instrument, or right click instrument, let's say a subtractor synth. Yeah, subtractor. I always thought it was contractor, but I was wrong. So I don't know if you hear my cat, but she's meowing. The subtractor synth will show up right below audio track, which is below transport. So you'll see how everything stacks up below transport. To, obviously engage it in recording, you'll press a record button. This button is the automation button. So basically what that's saying is I don't want to record the audio or the MIDI again. All I want to record is me changing this knob. So, if that's enabled, when I start recording, it'll record these changes right here in these knobs. So then you could do like cool build-ups, and this is what makes Reason probably better than any other software because how easy it is to automate. And I mean, Ableton's pretty easy too, but man, Reason is it's pretty awesome. And now that 9.5 is out, things are, it's kind of a big deal. So moving on, I think we can move on. I do want to show you this. If you click on audio track, you want to make sure that it's a mono input and you're coming in on, input one of your interface. Your interface may just show 2 inputs, but just make sure you're mono and 1. If it's coming out of only the left side, that means you're coming in 1 and 2, but you only have your mic plugged into 1. So that's going to be the problem. Okay, so what is the next step? Let's see. All right. That was really one thing that's pretty crucial. This is the size of your viewing space. You can also adjust it, I think, some other ways, but that's probably the easiest way. I don't really know the commands for zooming in, but that's probably something you can look up maybe. So the next thing I want to show you after that is going to be all this down here. So this is really important stuff, and then I'm going to tell you all the shortcuts on how just to record and turn your metronome on really simply. So you have your click right here. This is going to show your input gain. So if you're way too hot, you'll be able to see that right here. So that's just so you could see it quick. That's for ease of workflow. Like I said, I have no idea what blocks is. I really need to look that up because I've used this for a long time. Click is obviously your metronome. You have a pre-count if you want it, and that's when I believe sorry about that. Okay, let's just mess with that in a minute. This is your click level because you could hear that was super loud. That's one thing that gets really frustrating is clicks, so they made that really easy to find, I think. So don't forget, it's right here. It's really important. You can tap out your metronome and your BPM, which is right here, or you could just double click it. This is where you're at in the song, your minutes, and this is your frames or whatever, the beats, the actual beat in the measure. Okay, so, and different ways I guess you can travel down I never really used this, and I think it'd be weird if you did. So this is cool. So, right, this little transport translates to the shortcuts that I want to tell you about. That's going to be all found in the 10 key. So 1, 2 sends you between the 2 brackets, which is another thing I forgot to tell you about. These brackets are everything when you're recording. So they stick to the grid. So if you set this grid to bar, it's probably easier at first to set these. So you'll want to do, let's say I always start with 8 bars, so it'll be 8, 9. So you'll set it on 9 because you'll have all of 8 and then it'll come back, right? So at that point, you can switch between 1 and 2, right? And 1 being left, 2 being right. 9 is your click, right? So I could toggle my click right there. But I don't know how to toggle pre, but let's say I don't want to pre-count. I could just do 2, 4, then I'm gonna set it to record on this. So 2, 4, and then record is asterisk, right? So 2, 4, asterisk. Now I get my 4 count. Still have to set it in loop. My bad. So loop is right here, right? Or you could press the line, the slash right next to number lock, and that'll give you, that'll turn on and off your loop. So if we want to record something, we could press 2, 4. Make sure our metronome is on with 9, right? So we could toggle 9. So 2, 4, then asterisk, 3, 4. Then we start recording. So it gives us like a simulated count in. And then the workflow, if I mess up, could be stop, Command Z twice, 2, 4, asterisk. Right? I messed up. Stop, spacebar, Command Z. If I recorded something, I'd have to press Command Z. 2, 4, asterisk, right? So that's the whole idea, is just kind of create this workflow that works for you. Um, but I genuinely use this whole 2-4 asterisk thing. Then if I mess up, stop, Command Z, 2-4 asterisk. That kind of workflow helps to make everything work out really quick, and you can see how fast that is. So when you're frustrated and just trying to nail down like a complicated piece, that would help you. One thing that I know is important to you is setting your time signature. So if I want to set it in 7/4, boom, your 7/4 right there. Let's do some experimenting. I'm guessing that this is how you write something in. So if I want to write in a time signature change at 8, let's see, how do we do this? So we're in 7/4 right now. We want to write in a time signature change. I see. I think this is what blocks are for. Okay. So I'm assuming now, let's count this. Let's see what happens. Let's see. How do you do this? Block 1, run pattern, 4/4. Figured that that would change it. 6, 7, 1, 2. Okay, so that didn't really do anything. I may have to do some research, or maybe some other guys already made a video about it. How to create different time signatures in one session, because you know that Reason would do that, it being used for a lot of like film score and sound design kind of stuff. Cool, guys. That's the breakdown. So you got 1, as in regards to shortcuts, you have 1 to left, 2 to right, 4 backs up, 5 goes forward, and however you have the grid set to. Or I guess actually it just goes between bars. So 4, 5 does that. 6 creates new lanes inside the same audio track. So sometimes that could be convenient. Sometimes it could be annoying. But if you're doing like several takes of the same vocal line, that's when that comes in handy big time. 7, let's see what that does. I guess that does the same thing as 4 and 5. 9 turns on and off your click, and asterisk records. The slash turns on and off your loop. I think that's it. Just don't forget that I should just tell you about this now, actually. I didn't even show you this part, and I've been using Maschine a lot, so my bad. This is really important for me to show you. So you're gonna see the session open like this. You can pull this down. Man, this is crazy. I forget. And you could pull this down. So now it starts getting really complicated. These are your audio tracks that you've opened, or your MIDI tracks that you've opened. So right here I have my audio track. If I want to add a reverb or something like that, since I have these already set up, these right here, if I want to go to this plate, well, they already sidechained it for us. So all we do is we go to our aux sends and we turn on 1, and now we have reverb pumping there. This is your individual channel send. This is your master level. So I often pull back my masters for some reason, and I do that. So now I can add, 2 reverbs and a delay and to my vocals, and we can just like really check that out real quick, like we have to, right? I gotta mute my speaker so I don't get to hear what it sounds like unless I put my headphones on. Let me do that. Check. All right.
Check. Right on. All right. I don't know if you're hearing that, because I know I'm not. Been doing a lot of renovating in my little studio here. Alright. Hello, check. Yeah, that's awful.
So, you can bypass right here on any instrument. So you can see that it's pretty cool. So you can turn them on and off, whatever you want to do. This is your, obviously your level. And then you can just come into these effects and kind of scroll through and see what they have, or just, make something crazy. Check. In a world where cats are dogs. And we'll just like, man, that is sick. It's a lot of fun to mess with reverb. Okay, so I'm gonna pop these headphones off. So I can't believe I forgot that. So you have everything on these channel strips. This is your input gain, so I guess you could call it your trim. These are your compressors. You just turn it on. If you want, you can see the compression right here. So if I turn my threshold up and I turn my ratio all the way up, you can see that I'm actually compressing my vocals now. The gate is right here, obviously very important if you're doing anything, so you don't have to go through and like, a gate basically mutes the channel basically, and then when you start talking again, it unmutes a channel. So basically any room tone can get, cut out of there, or anything you don't want people to hear. Maybe when it's really useful in a live sound, but people use it in recording for to add just like a total different vibe. So you'll hear that in drums that are like cut off really fast in like a lot of Queens of Stone Age stuff. Okay, you can move down and you'll see you have an EQ section right here after the gate. Right, it starts right here. This is your EQ section. You can turn it on with this thing, or you can turn it on right here. Where is it? Piece by piece. So you have your low pass filter, so a low pass filter cuts out highs and allows only lows. High pass filter cuts out all the lows and only lets highs. So you can select your frequency right here. For some reason my frequency stopped showing up. I'm sure that's something that you can look up, or just use this to see that. So this is how you toggle to be able to see that channel's EQ. This is how you turn on and off the overall EQ. So the low pass filters and high pass filters are individual, and then just the overall EQ bands are in a group. So you have highs, lows, or I'm sorry, highs, mids, low mids, and then lows. And then you can just kind of mess with that. Switch the low from a bell to a shelf, and same for the high. So you can do some cool work with that and just make stuff sound good. I recommend look up what frequencies certain instruments live in to zone in on those frequencies. This I don't mess with. I don't really know what this does. I've never looked at it, never researched it. But you do have all your sends right here, and that's like super important. Going a little further down, you have panning and your mute and solo right here, as well as right here. But sometimes these work independent, so you might get confused. This volume is for the individual channel, but you also have that right here. So they made it kind of convenient there. So we'll save on the subcontractor. Man, I think that's it. Finally, the master section right here. You have when you unbypass that, it's pretty cool. So you can really get into there. So when you show inserts, this is what I was telling you. You can really see everything. So this is the programmer, but this is the actual master section. So everything's bypassed. So you have to unbypass it, turn it all on, and adjust from there. You have stereo imager, compressor, maximizer. You can adjust that. And by the way, simply by right-clicking right here, if I want to create an effect, or let's say not create, but let's just add like an auto tune or something, you can Neptune pitch adjustment. Now that should be, if you press tab, you can see how it's routed. And turn it on by 5. So that's how you work that. And man, I appreciate you guys stopping by. So I'm gonna go slap the shit out of my brother right now. So I'll see you guys later.